from ABC News, as students head back to class, are schools ready to handle COVID-19? What does that even mean, handle? Right? I'm old enough to remember when children were the least likely to be affected by this big, scary disease. But you shut schools down anyways. You destroyed the education system. You tried to teach them through mask. You tried to make them play instruments through mask. And now you want to, are schools ready to handle this 4 years later? What are you talking about? COVID test positivity and ER visits have been trending upwards since the spring. Yeah, right. I highly doubt it. And even if it were, you could literally go to the ER with anything. They will test you for Rona and pretend that's the reason that you're in there. And really, this is all about school, right? There's no other reason why the media would be foisting this Rona nonsense on us all over again.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
But my name's Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm absolutely begging you.
I'm begging you, please. Come on, please.
Because it would help me a lot and cost you nothing. But if you wanted to help me even more and spend a little bit of money, you would buy my book, New York City 2020, Gotham Unglued, on Amazon.com. That link will be in the description. Okay, is this what we're going to do? They're not going to have a voiceover. They're not going to have any sort of, news talker, talking head person explain to you why this is scary. They're just going to do a little infographic and a bunch of B-roll. Most students across the U.S. are getting ready to head back to school as summer begins to wind down. As the school year starts, concern about respiratory viruses, including flu, RSV, and COVID-19 are growing. So says the media. That's not happening in real people. It's just you pushing it on everybody. And we were also told that COVID was nothing like the flu, and now they're literally mentioning it in the same sentence as though it's the same thing.
Seasonally, this is the time of year where we...
Okay, here we go. So they do have somebody, and I can only assume this guy is equivalent to Dr. Peter Chin Hong, who says that all COVID is going to be a summer surge, but don't worry, there's also going to be a winter surge, and just remain afraid.
Tend to see an uptick in all sorts of viral and respiratory illnesses. Some of that has to do with the fact...
Okay, an uptick, right? So they say, oh, it's trending upward. An uptick. They love to use the word uptick. That's been happening since the beginning of this, right? After the first couple of months of Rona, and then it started going down just a little bit. And then when it went back up a little bit, of course, it was an uptick, but that cannot be trusted, obviously. So needless to say, there are always buzzwords. We see, oh, Kamala's going to bring back joy, and J.D. Vance is weird. They always have their words that they want to use. And in this particular case, it's uptick. It's super scary.
Of the seasonality of the viruses themselves, and that also has to do with the aggregating of people together for the purposes of education.
Oh, it's the exact same thing. He's literally getting the same talking points as Dr. Peter Chin Hong. In the summertime, people come together. It's hot, and there will be Rona. And now it's back to school, and kids will be together in a classroom, and they will spread the virus. And then winter will come, and they will get cold and congregate and have a Christmas party and a Thanksgiving, and that will be dangerous too. It's never going to end.
And so it is definitely on our radar as we're entering the beginning of the school year.
It's on your radar. Why on earth should we believe you? But they say many schools switched to remote learning during the pandemic to help reduce the spread of the virus, which we now know did not work at all. It only helped to turn these kids' brains into further mush and drip out their ears. Some studies show that student academic achievement remains below pre-pandemic levels as a result. Yeah, obviously, like I said, you ruined everything, and now you're pretending that you're concerned about it. How are we going to handle this? What is it to handle? If you're sick, stay home. That's how it was when I was a kid, but now it has a name, right? Are you going to be scared of every single other illness? Are you going to be scared? Are we talking about lice and ringworms? Does that exist anymore? Right? Fauci himself, for the millionth time, said, well, do you know how much flu existed? And he was like, well, last year, basically none. So where did the flu go, Dr. Fauci? Do you remember that? right? There's the clip of him in Washington, D.C., I believe, trying to get some guy to take the vaccine, and the guy's like, no, I don't want to do it.
But if it allows thousands of people like you don't get vaccinated, you're going to let this virus continue to percolate in this country and in this world.
Something like the common flu then, right?
And not like
it's
like
much
the common
more
flu.
serious than the flu.
Well, the flu kills a lot of people annually, too.
You know how many people died of the flu the last year? I mean, not this year, virtually none, but the previous year, about 20 to 30,000. You know how many people have died from COVID-19 in the United States? 600,000 Americans.
Well, the number that you all giving that died, that's once again, that's you all's number.
You gonna pass?
Yeah, definitely.
All
Because when you start talking about paying people to get vaccinated, when you start talking about incentivizing things to get people vaccinated, it's something else going on with that. Something else going on.
It is something going on with
something
it.
else.
You're right. But I'm glad millions of people like me and most everybody here didn't get an incentive. You know what their incentive was? Protecting their health and protecting the city. But I won't keep you anymore.
It's okay, because my incentive, y'all campaign is about fear. It's about inciting fear in people. You all attack people with fear. That's what this pandemic is. It's a fear. It's fear, this pandemic. That's all it is.
Look, it's a mess. This year, schools are trying to avoid closing despite the increase. The increase compared to what? The increase compared to last year, the year before, 2020. What are you guys talking about? And they're trying to avoid closing, meaning that they're going to do it anyways.
Closing of the schools that occurred last time was an unbelievable disaster. Kids are way behind academically. We're still experiencing it now, and I think some of them will be affected for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. And you can't pretend that, it was bro, I am an expert. I do identify as an expert, but it was not hard to see. They want to pretend like, we did the best with the information that we had. No, bro, you made it all up, and you pretended like you were surprised when the obvious happened.
COVID tends not to affect children the way it affects older people.
Yeah, we remember that as well. But you shut the schools down anyways, and you had the teachers crying, and it was a corruption race to the bottom for the New York Teachers Union and the corrupt de Blasio regime. It was a complete mess at the expense of these children.
Unless they have pre-existing conditions. And when it does, the results are relatively mild. So it makes no sense to close the schools.
We understand that COVID is going to be with us. This is not something that's going away.
That's because it's it's going to be here because it's already been here. You just gave it a new name.
Be something that we're going to have to continue to deal with. So we've sort of accepted that as part of our new normal, and that's why we're taking all these steps to ensure that we're hitting the high touch areas to make sure that they are clean. We have our nurses on standby to deal with situations where students are sick, but the most important thing is letting parents know and letting our staff know that if they feel sick, it's okay to stay home. And
yes, that's how it's always been. Remember back in the day when kids used to just fake being sick to stay home and there was no Rona, but now, bro, you're pretending like you're reinventing the wheel when all you've done is rebrand, relabel an existing illness, and then pretend that, if you're sick, stay home. That's what we've always been doing. But
I'm losing my patient.
Seek treatment.
Experts say that one of the best ways students can prepare for the upcoming school year is to receive. And here we go. It doesn't really affect kids that much. I mean, it doesn't really. It's a disease of the brain, but that's a different discussion. Just make sure that everybody gets the updated pharmaceutical, and there we have it. The updated vaccine will likely be released in late August or early September and will target the virus's JN.1 variant, an offshoot of the Omicron variant. All this nonsense made up that cannot be fact-checked by anybody. Just know that we're coming out with a new pharmaceutical and you have to get it, otherwise we're going to shut the school down and you're going to die.
It reduces not only the chance for hospitalization, but also reduces disease burden overall, just so that kids and adults alike are not severely impacted by it. And of course, it is.
They're severely impacted by this regime. They're not severely impacted by a weirdo floating around virus that just, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we would have just called a cold or perhaps the flu. They are not heavily impacted by that. They are heavily impacted by you guys pushing this nonsense on people nonstop. And to pretend that this is all about schools is absolutely despicable, because there is quite clearly another reason why you are pushing this very hard. And I don't know, maybe I missed it, but did we see this in August of 2023 or August of 2022? Or is it now? Is it now into hyperdrive with the rest of the weird Kamoto propaganda that you want to push this nonsense?
Continue to be recommended. For schools, it's just really important to have, I would say, clear policy or language in place so that parents can be guided. Unfortunately, when you send a child to school that has an illness and they're confined in small spaces, and it can be a source for rapid spread in a community. So I think if schools can have a very clear language and policy around when children should stay at home.
You have to be kidding me. There's no way this guy is talking about clear language and policy when manipulating everybody.
Under the guidance of the local public health agencies, I think that would be super helpful.
Okay, this is absolutely despicable. And you can tell quite clearly that this is only them trying to gauge voters by way of understanding who is going to continue to buy into this nonsense.